All right. Hey guys, this is Chovav. It's January 17th, 2022. This is going to be my second 5G video. Let me get you up to date a little bit. So the recent weeks have been hectic. The launch date has been pushed to the 19th, 2 days down the line. There have been some compromises achieved with the cellular companies. Mostly they're gonna create corridors into certain runways at some airports. This includes 50 airports. And they're gonna limit the frequency up to 3.9 megahertz. They'll go all the way up to 3.98. They're going to limit the power a little bit. It's still going to be way, way higher than anywhere else in the world. And that's about it, what was agreed upon with the cellular companies. In the meantime, the industry is going on a couple of routes. First one is applying NOTAMs to limit the risk. This is going to apply to about 100 US airports in major cities. You can have a look here at what's going on in JFK. Basically, no autoland. Anything below 200 feet AGL is going to have to be flown visually. This is one route. The other route they're working hectically on is approving alternate modes of compliance, which is a nice word of saying getting exemptions for certain types of radio altimeters and airplanes combination. Let's say that this manufacturer is manufacturing a certain radio altimeter which is more immune to interference. It's going to get approved to overlook the NOTAM and operate normally. It's called alternate mode of compliance, or AMOX. The manufacturers are now working on that. The other thing that's happening these days is they are finalizing operational bulletins for operators on how to operate the airplanes. And this is going to include, I've seen a couple of these drafts. These are going to include mostly mapping the systems that can and might be influenced. Nothing is determinable, nothing is for certain, but you get a list of all the systems and phases of operation that could be influenced by the interference between 5G networks and radio altimeters, from takeoff to aborted takeoff to tail strike protection during takeoff, to LNAV navigation after takeoff, and for the approach, auto throttle behavior, landing distance, air to ground mode, switching, yes or not, and obviously auto land prohibition. Basically, there's not going to be auto land available in most major US airports for the foreseen future unless AMOX are provided. I'm making this video because there was one piece of risk mitigation missing from all these publications, and that is the human factors. When you're going to see these bulletins, you're going to notice that what you get is a list of systems which are solving the technical aspect and the regulatory aspect of the new concern of 5G frequencies interfering with the radio altimeter. However, there's surprisingly enough, or not surprisingly, silence on the human factor side, on the human performance side. And this video, I intend to cover the threat and error management of human factors as far as 5G is related. I'm going to hold short of the management and just contain myself to threat and error identification. I mean, operators should address the mitigations they want to put in place. This is not my job. So let's start. Some things are going to be covered, some aspects, some technical issues are going to be covered by normal procedures or the normal SOP we apply. We're going to get some penalties on mostly Boeing airplanes as far as takeoff and landing distances are concerned. On contaminated runway, this is due to the fact that the air-ground logic on Boeing airplanes, on some Boeing airplanes, is dependent on radial altimeter and not just on weight on wheels. This is not the case for Airbus airplanes. I do not know about other manufacturers, but you might want to have a look into that. So takeoff, you're going to get a penalty for accelerated stop distance when the runway is contaminated, and the same is going to go for landing performance. This is mainly due to the fact that if the airplane does not go into ground mode, you're not going to get reverse thrust, you're not going to get auto speed brakes, and you're not going to get auto brakes. But then again, normal SOP do cover that, and that's not a big concern. The other thing is that's going to be influence on warning systems, such as GPWIS, TCAS. You might get descent at low altitude and predictive wind shear. And once again, normal SOP should be able to cover that. And there's no big human factors issue here. Auto throttle not functioning properly. So putting aside the landing distance penalty, think about auto throttle not closing to idle on flare. I know that most pilots leave the auto throttle connected all the way to landing on modern airplanes such as Airbus, 777 and 787, even the 73 MAX. But if you fail to close the engines, the throttles to idle on touchdown, you increase the risk of long landings, and mostly you increase the risk of bounce landings. And bounce landings is a big mess, and this has to be taken into consideration. The biggest issue which I would address is landing with no callouts. I mean, if the radial altimeter is not working one bit, you're not going to get the 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, which I haven't landed without for like, what, 25 years? I don't know about you guys, but 25 years I haven't landed without that. And this increases two risks. One is long landings, and the other one is hard landings. Once again, this needs to be addressed. All right, let's talk about one more thing, which I have encountered during the big GPS jamming, which we had like 2.5 years ago. And this is distractions which at very low altitude, which will be triggered by the anomalies. Let's say that you have a no autoland beeper or something like that at very low altitude. What's going to happen is, for instance, is that when the pilot flying is asking for a landing checklist, the pilot monitoring is not going to get a landing checklist, he's going to get the no normal checklist. This is going to lead to both pilots flying head down, troubleshooting, beeper for checklist incomplete, all sorts of distractions at very low altitude. And remember, you're not going to go to autoland even when the visibility is like RVR 20, 700 meters. You still have to land manually. There's a lot of ways that this can distract the pilots. or cause pilots to fly head down or try to troubleshoot at really low altitude. And to me at least, that's the biggest concern. Those distractions at low altitude, this has to be addressed. That's point number 3, I think. Number 4 is seeing ghosts in the machine. I mean, you can go to an airport where the terrain is not totally flat, and you will get fluctuations in the radio altimeter readings, and that's perfectly normal. But you're going to interpret that as something is wrong, and try to deal with that instead of flying the airplane. That's another point that needs to be addressed. And the last but not least is failing to manage the threats and error of the specific approach properly due to bias to lean and to make everything radio altimeter 5G related and missing, I don't know, trivial, normal, everyday threats such as airplane malfunctions, NOTAMs, fuel status, ATC instruct, whatever. This is a big distraction, a big distractions, and the manufacturers and regulators are addressing only the technical and regulatory aspect of this threat. Please try to avoid doing the same thing, and keep in mind that this is going to influence your first few approaches in the foreseen future. Anyway, just wanted to say that I think the manufacturers and the regulators are missing big time on this aspect of the influence of all the commotion around 5G, RA, interlink. Please don't do that. Brief, think about what's going to happen, fly the airplane, and ask your operator on how to mitigate those risks. Thank you, and happy January 19th. That's the launch date. It's just around the corner. Stay safe.